Hello and welcome to Mullen's Benefits Companion, a podcast that helps employers navigate the complex legal challenges of managing their employee benefit plans. I'm your host, Brydon DeWitt, and today I'm joined by special guest Beryl Ball, Principal Financial Advisor at CAPTRUST. Welcome back to the Benefits Companion, Beryl.
Thanks, Brydon. It's great to be here.
So this is a topic that Beryl suggested to me on auto-portability, which can help plan sponsors where they have participants with low account balances that are going to be involuntarily cashed out. And it's really a hot topic right now because of two things. So the Secure Act increased the cash out threshold from 5,000 to 7,000. So under the Secure Act, if a person has an vested account balance of 7,000 or less, they can be automatically cashed out of the plan without their consent. And really up until now, until we had the technology, the option was either the participant received the cash or they didn't consent to the distribution and it was automatically rolled over into an IRA. But Beryl, now there's another option with auto portability, and it just went into effect October 1. So can
That's correct.
Kind of give us some background on auto portability, what it is and how it benefits plans and participants?
I think there's been a concern in the marketplace generally, both from folks who are concerned about not having enough retirement income because they switch jobs. Back in the day, people tended to work for the same company for 25 or 30 years. When they retired, there was a pension plan that they had, so they had monthly income every month. As 401k plans came in the 80s, then we saw people starting to gather investment income that way versus pension plans. However, if you switch from job to job, in other words, you don't stay at the same company for 25 or 30 years, the average today is that any employee starting out in their career will have at least 6 different companies that they will be working for in an average 25-year to 30-year career. So switching jobs is very common. It happens all the time, either because they want to or the company wants to have them leave. And so what happens is people accumulate very small balances in their plan. They leave going from one company to the other, and they often will spend down that money. In other words, they'll take the cash. They may or may not roll it over to their next employer. In many cases, it automatically gets rolled over into an IRA, which has a lot higher fees than what they had when they were in their 401k plan. So after the 5th or 6th job, they end up without sufficient retirement income because there isn't going to be a pension.
So even if we've been successful in getting someone to make elective deferrals into a plan, when they switch jobs, if they take the cash, it's a start over. You didn't really get the benefit of having saved that money if you take an automatic distribution now up to $7,000 and spend it on your boat or a car or whatever.
Right. So a few years ago, there was an organization called RCH that decided to try to put the technology together to allow record keepers to move money automatically from one plan to another. And there were a few record keepers, Vanguard, Fidelity, and Alight, who joined a consortium. They started this back last year, moving into this year. They worked with an organization called, it started off being called Retirement Clearinghouse. It's now called Portability Services Network, or PSN for short. And that network has grown, and with the new rules available to them that are in terms of how much the $7,000 rule, Secure Act had some notes about this as well. We're seeing more record keepers who have now joined. And so we now have Empower joining. We now have TIAA joining in 24, 25, at least one other that is joining. Principal is also joining. So we'll have 6 of the largest record keepers in the U.S. That takes out probably most employer plans are using one of those record keepers
Right.
who are now part of this network. So we don't know yet information about cost, but there won't be a plan sponsor cost. There may be a minor $30 cost is what we've heard so far from the network to transfer it. The plans on both sides will have to have the ability to accept rollovers directly.
So do
So
employers
if they
have to
don't.
opt into this? Do employers have to do anything?
At
Or is
this
it,
point, it does not appear so. We'll know more in 2024 going in as to whether the record keepers, what kind of paperwork, if any, they will require to be part of the network. But what's been produced, really what's new, is the technology to do it. That didn't exist before. And so these 6 are owners of this network at this point. However, others can join. And so we anticipate the first 3, Vanguard, Fidelity, Alight, are ready to start now. The next 3 will probably be ready in 24 to 25. So, rather than having funds eaten up by IRA costs or people cashing out their money, there will be a solution where this money can automatically be rolled over. I don't know at this point if it will be negative consent or positive consent. I'm hearing it may simply be negative consent. In other words, if it will be rolled over to your new employer unless you opt out, perhaps. But some of that is still not exactly clear as to how that will work. But it could very well be a really new, exciting feature to solve a problem that exists today.
so, for example, an employee works for an employer that has Fidelity as the 401k record keeper and has an account, I'll just say for now, $5,000.
Mhm.
And that employee terminates employment and is hired by an employer that has a 401k plan managed by Vanguard. That Fidelity and Vanguard will behind the scenes automatically work to transfer that $5,000 from the Fidelity plan to the Vanguard plan with a new employer, and the employee keeps trucking as though they hadn't lost a beat. It sounds like.
No, and it never gets in their hands.
Yeah.
I mean, so there's no spending it down right away. It just goes over and it becomes part of their plan with their new employer. That's the idea of it that I think is probably pretty exciting if this
Yeah.
works.
Well, Bill, thanks so much for joining us and talking about auto portability. That'll conclude our discussion. If listeners have any questions or suggestions for future episodes of this podcast, please contact me. You can also visit our employee benefits page at williamsmullen.com/employee benefits. There you can find out more about our team, as well as past episodes of this podcast and legal alerts. Finally, be sure to subscribe to this podcast to be notified when our next episode posts. Thanks for listening.